Good morning. I am coming to you live from Concordia Church and School, and I'll be reading you a story this morning entitled, Little Engines Can Do Big Things. Now, throughout the story, I'm going to have a job for you. So the job is, every time I look at you, we're going to say something together. We're going to say, all things are possible with God. So let's give it a try. I'm going to say it first, and then you're going to say it. All things are possible with God. Now let me hear you say it. All things are possible with God. So let's get into our story. Little engines can do big things. Things were very busy on the island of Sodor. So Topham Hatt was away on vacation, and all the engines were doing their best to be really useful. But Thomas the Tank Engine did not feel useful at all. James teased Thomas for bumping into the buffers. Gordon scolded Thomas for being late. They made Thomas feel unimportant. Important is big, Gordon told Thomas, and we are big engines. You are small, bossy rock sprockets, grumbled Thomas. I'll show them. What's the thing that we want you guys to remember? All things are possible with God. Let me hear you. Now let's say it together. All things are possible with God. Little engines can do big things, Thomas told himself, especially when they have nice blue paint like me. But just then, Harold the helicopter flew by, making a cloud of dust. Thomas' nice blue paint got all dirty. Two nasty diesels made fun of Thomas. Let's start laughing now, they said. And they did. Thomas was determined to prove that little engines could be really useful too. That night, Thomas was right on time doing his mail route. He even comforted Percy, who felt bad for being late. So you know what? During this time, they're teasing Thomas because Thomas is small and they think that he has no value. And they don't think he can do much. But remember what we talked about earlier. All things are possible with God. Let me hear you say that. Now let's say it together. All things are possible with God. The next morning, Thomas saw Henry looking gloom. Morning, Henry, pepped Thomas. What's the matter? I've got boiler ache, Henry told him. Thomas offered to fetch some special coal for Henry. Thank you, Thomas, said Henry. Special coal will make me feel much better. Thomas smiled and puffed away, feeling really useful indeed. Near a set of old buffers, Thomas set to work collecting the coal cars, but the last car was not coupled properly. Thomas didn't notice the coal car sliding quietly backwards. He didn't notice it mysteriously disappearing through the old buffers. It wasn't until later that Thomas realized the coal car was missing. Gotta find that car. I was up near the buffers when the last coal car disappeared, Thomas told Percy. Percy got very excited. Maybe those buffers are the entrance to the magic railroad, he cried. The engine had heard the legend of the magic railroad and of the beautiful golden engine called Lady, who gave the railroad its magic power. Lady had disappeared long ago, and the magic railroad had disappeared with her. Percy, you are clever, Thomas exclaimed, and hurried away. Remember, all things are possible with God. Let me hear you say it. Now let's say it together. All things are possible with God. Thomas steamed back to the old buffers. He knew that bringing Lady back would be really useful, but he was nervous too. What if I go on the magic railroad and my wheels don't work, thought Thomas. What if it's dark? But Thomas kept going. He reached the old buffers and passed right through. The magic railroad was dark and scary, but it was also beautiful. Thomas found the missing coal car with the car coupled properly. He continued along the magic railroad. Thomas passed through another set of buffers and into a world he had never seen before. This was the other end of the magic railroad and the home of the lady, the golden engine. Lady had not run in many years, but with the help of the special code from the island of Sador, she was soon steaming again. As Lady moved along, her lovely, happy face was revealed once more. The rails became clear and golden, and beautiful shavings fell behind her and gathered between the tracks. The magic railroad was coming back to life. Thomas followed Lady back through the buffers. With a roar, the two little engines burst onto the island of Sador. Hooray for Thomas! The engines cheered. Lady was back, and the magic railroad would run once again. You see, said Thomas, little engines can do big things. Now remember in our story, it talked about how Thomas was getting teased and he felt really useless. And all the other trains made him feel that way as well. But because he didn't believe them and because he believed in himself, he continued on and he was able to do big things. Guys, remember, when things are going rough for us, remember, all things are possible with God. Look forward to reading your next story. Take care, and remember, you are loved and you are missed. Until we meet again, goodbye.